Good afternoon and welcome to the Herald's Rugby World Cup coverage and another one of our live videos as the second game of Scotland's tournament edges closer. Kick-off in Nice today is at 4:45 p.m. and it's a really pivotal game for Scotland. They need to win and win well to preserve any hopes of qualifying from the group of death. I'm delighted to be joined by Alasdair McKenzie. Alasdair, how are you?
Yeah, good. But tired. I was up in Paris last night for the South Africa-Ireland game, which was, a hell of a match. Completely brutal. Fantastic to watch, but obviously probably not the result Scotland fans were hoping for. But a late night and then an early flight this morning. So I'm trying to get myself up for the Scotland game now.
Yeah, I must apologise then for making you come on this live video. We could probably start. It seems strange to start on something which is not the Scotland game because they're just about to play. But the ramifications of last night's result were obviously significant for Scotland's prospects of qualifying from the group. And Ireland winning that game wasn't the result that Gregor Townsend would have been wanting.
No, I think through a Scottish lens, we were thinking that a kind of comfortable Springboks win last night probably would have been the best outcome in terms of simplifying things for us. It's a really strange position to be in, to feel that we've only had one game and it feels like a long time ago already, a couple of weeks ago in Marseille. And in the meantime, the main rivals to qualify for the quarterfinals, South Africa and Ireland, have both played 3 matches. And we're in this situation where before our second match, we already know pretty much what we need to do to qualify, or for a lot of people, how impossible it's going to be to qualify from this pool. So yeah, it's a bit of a bizarre situation. The tournament, the way the momentum is built for Scotland fans has been quite difficult, I think, this year. But when it comes down to it, I would say that the fundamental thing is still the same, which is that we were always going to have to beat one of South Africa or Ireland. After losing that opening game, we knew one way or another it would come down to having to beat Ireland, and that's still the case. Clearly, there are quite a complicated series of permutations around what would happen if this or that result happened, but a victory against the Irish was going to be necessary one way or the other.
Yeah, what was your thoughts on the game? You were in the stadium. It must have been a fantastic occasion to be at, two of the best sides in the world going head to head.
I think the entire contest felt like it was being played on another level to almost any other matchup I've seen at this World Cup. I've seen at any test level for a long time, to be honest. The physicality was an aspect everyone was talking about before the game. It really lived up to that. The collisions were massive. The intensity, it never really relented, both in terms of the collisions, the impacts, also the breakdown, the way that was competed, the set piece, the way that was competed, the efforts to kind of try and make some progress on the gain line. So it was a fantastic contest, obviously quite a low scoring one, but still by far, in my mind, the best match of the World Cup so far. And I think from a neutral perspective, if that's possible, obviously in our pool, but if it from a neutral perspective was a terrific watch, and you can understand why these are the top 2 ranked teams in the world. They kind of showed everyone why. I wouldn't be that surprised at all if South Africa were still to bounce back from this to get to a final. It's something they're asked about in the press conference after the match last night, and Jacques Nienaber, their coach, immediately said, this happened in 2019 when they lost their opening game to New Zealand. We've shown it can be done before, and we can show it can be done again. So, for both those sides, I think they'll probably look at that kind of intensity of a contest as quite a good thing leading into the knockout stages of this tournament, as a kind of acid test of where they're at and how they're going to compete. And I wouldn't be all that surprised to see them both back in the final next month. Obviously, from a Scottish perspective, hope that doesn't happen, but those are 2 really, really complete teams.
Yeah, no, 100%. Let's look towards the Scotland game now. Obviously, it's just under 2 hours until kick-off. I mean, with that result last night, it's imperative for Scotland to get the bonus point in this game as well, isn't it? And I know Blair Kinghorn and a couple of other members of the Scotland camp have been trying to downplay the importance of the score and racking up a good amount of points, but that's just been enhanced by the result last night, and Scotland really do need to get off and get that bonus point.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think that's the most simple way of looking at the permutations is we need bonus point wins against Tonga and Romania. I think that is essential now. I think most people recognize that already before this. It's going to be tough. I mean, this Tonga side had a heavy defeat in their opening game against Ireland, but that can be forgiven against this Irish team. Also, I was with the Tonga camp on Tuesday to speak to Malachi Fakatoa, and he's one of 4 ex-All Blacks they've got on this team now. Also, Adam Coleman, who's playing for Australia at the last World Cup, on their bench. They have described this as being the strongest team they've ever taken to a World Cup. You can see why. They didn't really get a chance to play in that Ireland game, so that's something that Scotland need to try and stop them from doing as well. As finding a way of replicating that ability to stop them from getting quick balls, stop them from finding space and getting it out to the likes of Fekitoa and Piatau in the back line, because they have the weapons there to cause a lot of problems for Scotland. And the point people were making in the Tonga camp as well was that their preparation was far from ideal. They had 2 years between facing a tier 1 opponent and facing Ireland in their opening game. They had a full month without any test matches before the World Cup started. So compared to a lot of teams, they really, came in quite underprepared in terms of being ready for that test match for Usty. And they were all saying, now that we've had that experience, we're only going to be better for it, and having a full week to prepare for this Scotland match too. So I am expecting an improved Tongan performance from what we saw against Ireland, and a tricky day for Scotland. I think first half particularly, it could get a bit uncomfortable, but yeah, like you say, the bonus point win is what is going to be needed here. You're on mute. I can't hear you.
I've actually got a really bad cold, which is terrible. It's only September, and I've got a cold, which is the worst thing to do when you're doing a live video. But anyway, we persevere. Sorry, I was just going to say, it's important not to be arrogant about Scotland's chances, and we've been talking about the bonus point. That's not the case. It's just they need to get that if they really want to qualify from the group. But it will be a really tough game against Tonga. I watched their opening game against Ireland, and they competed really well, especially at the start of the game. The issue was when I think it was Peter O'Mahony was sin-binned, that they failed to take advantage of their man advantage and get points on the board. But perfect point what you made there about the start of the game and the opening period will be difficult for Scotland, and Tonga will pose a lot of problems. I think Gregor Townsend spoke this week, didn't he? He said the last 20 minutes of the game will be really important, and that's why he's got the likes of Darcy Graham to come off the bench and make an impact.
Yeah, really strong bench. Hugh Jones as well, Pierre Schumann. So they will be able to make an impact, the likes of which Tonga probably won't in that period of the game. It's probably part of the reason Chris Harris, for example, has been picked to start in midfield for this one. Obviously, a very strong player defensively who can deal with the early onslaught that's probably going to come their way. So yeah, I do think it's going to be a difficult battle, but they know what's at stake here, and I guess the players would have known that already. But now, after last night, they do know that literally the World Cup is on the line here. Every game from now on in, that's the last thing they'll want with 2 games to go, is that if they slip up here, they'll know that the chance is gone, basically. So I think what from a Scottish perspective, what we really need is these 2 bonus point wins to actually at least give us that final big match against Ireland in Paris, going in with the hope of something, And after watching the Irish performance, some people may have given up hope because that is a world number one team for a very good reason, on this records 16 match winning run and formidable side. But we want to be heading into that with the belief that we can do it. We can still reach the quarterfinals. So it's so important to be heading into these matches the right attitude. And I do like this team that Townsend's picked. I think that it's he's been quite smart in the rotation, bringing in 4 new players, but not overhauling the whole squad, not underestimating the threat of this Tongan side. And obviously, like you say, having that strong bench. So I am optimistic that it'll be enough to deliver the result we need.
Make sure I mute myself this time. I completely agree. It's I like Stein being back in the side as well. I think he's got a really good try scoring record for Scotland, doesn't he? I mean, I know Darcy Graham does as well, but it's good having that threat off the bench. 4 changes in total. We surprised by any of them, Alasdair? Obviously, Sutherland and Cummings coming into the pack, and Stein and Harris in the backline.
No, to be honest, the thing I was most surprised was that Stein wasn't involved at all in the South Africa game to begin with, because, like you say, I mean, his form of late has been outstanding. His Six Nations campaign was outstanding, and obviously he's just got bad luck that the guys he's up against in Graham and Van der Merwe were stacked with options there. But I think it's a great opportunity for him to show what he can do again, to try and really make that a very difficult call for Townsend in the games going forwards. So no, I don't think there's anything hugely surprising in there. It's nice to see Rory Sutherland back in the side as well, actually. Obviously, he's had a difficult couple of years, and he's an absolutely fantastic player when he's on top form. I do like the balance of the team. Hopefully, we can see a big game from Blair Kinghorn as well. I think a lot of Scotland fans are very happy and excited to see him finally kind of have the opportunity to nail down that 15 jersey, and in a game where there's likely to be a bit more space, more open field for him to run into. He's got such a good eye for a line, such good pace, and I think it could be a game where Kinghorn excels today.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think at the start of this, I was a little bit apprehensive about the game, just with last night kind of. It makes it an uphill task for Scotland to qualify. It was going to be already anyway, to beat Ireland, but I'm more optimistic now. I think the last time these sides played was 2 years ago, 2021. I think it was 60-14 to Scotland. The Tongan side has strengthened a lot since then, though it hasn't. I mean, that'd be a brilliant score today, but I mean, I don't think even the most optimistic Scotland fan could expect that scoreline.
Yeah, and it's probably worth actually underlining, because I failed to do that earlier, the reason they're managing to do this, the change in the eligibility rules from World Rugby in 2021 means that players who have represented one country but have gone 3 years without a cap are then able to switch to another country they're eligible for. So in the case of Tonga and other Pacific Island nations in particular, it's given them an opportunity for players who were capped by Australia and the All Blacks to return to their kind of native country, I suppose. So that's why we've seen the likes of Fekitoa and Piatau now pulling on a Tongan jersey. So yeah, I mean that's why these guys are all talking about this, including their coach, as being the strongest team ever assembled by Tonga.
What do you make of those? Just quickly ask what do you make of the eligibility rule changes? Because I mean, a lot of people are critical of them. I mean, what's your kind of view?
I think anything that's going to help level the playing fields and give a foot up to the smaller nations is a good thing, because for too long there's been a massive imbalance really between the top tier in rugby and everyone else trying to catch up. And especially nations like Tonga, Samoa, they've got some of the best rugby players in the world, and for them to not have access to some of these players because they've had one or two caps years ago, it seems crazy. So I'm a big fan of this change because I think that it's giving a lot more depth of options. There's nobody forcing national coaches to select these players. They don't have to be selected, obviously, but to have the option to call on that experience as well, and that's something else that I felt came through loud and clear when I spent the afternoon in the Tonga base, was that it's not just about what these players can offer on the pitch; it's their experience. I mean, Fekito has won the World Cup, so that is an immense kind of voice to bring into that room, with a lot of players who are either making their debut at the competition or haven't played that many tier 1 nations in test matches before. And so to bring in a World Cup winner, to bring in someone with the stardust of a Charles Piutau is great leadership to add as well. So no, I think it's been a great change, and it's helped hopefully level that playing field a little bit more.
Yeah, no, completely. Obviously, the fullback in the centre, Fekito and Piutau, didn't play that last Scotland game as well. So it's going to be an interesting game. I mean, what do you think the outcome will be? Do you think Scotland will get that bonus point that they so badly need?
I hope so, yeah. I mean, I think a lot of people, myself included, are kind of, when they hear the name Tonga, are kind of scarred by the memory of that night in Pitaudry, which, I mean, it was a long time ago now. I think that was the end of Andy Robinson, if I remember correctly. And that was pretty low. I mean, obviously that was a very different Scotland team to the one we've got now too. But I think, yeah, look, it's easy to be quite downtrodden and negative at the moment because of the situation with the pool. But we have to remind ourselves this is one of the best, if not the best, Scotland team we've ever taken to a World Cup. These guys are serious side. So I think they will have enough to get a bonus point win. I think it won't look very comfortable necessarily for the first 40, 50 minutes of this, but I'm hopeful that with the strength and depth of the bench and the fitness of this side, and that will come to the fore, and ultimately we can get the result we want, but perhaps not quite as emphatically as Ireland managed last week.
Yeah, memories of that Pitaudry game. I think it was 11 years ago, wasn't it? 21-15 Tonga. First ever win over Scotland, and luckily the Scottish rugby team is in a much better place now than it was back then. Guys, thanks everyone for watching today. We're going to wrap it up pretty shortly, but we will have a live blog running throughout the game if you can't able to watch it and you want to follow us on there. Pre-match build-up as well. We'll have lots on there previewing the game. You can also rewind us and watch this back from the start as well. We can't not talk about the game tonight. Obviously, Scotland-Tonga first, but then the big, massive clash between Wales and Australia. Eddie Jones was, I don't know if he believed what he was saying, but he was in a supremely confident mood when he said he knows his Australia side is going to win. Do you share that view?
Well, it's classic Eddie Jones, though, isn't it? I mean, this is the kind of fighting talk, I guess, everyone's become accustomed to hearing in his time as England coach. I'm not convinced, to be honest. Not particularly convinced by either of them. I was at the Wales game against Portugal in Nice last weekend. Okay, it was a rotated Wales team, but boy, did they make hard work of that. Were not very impressive whatsoever. Needed an 82nd minute try to get a bonus point against a Portuguese side who were fantastic to watch, to be honest, and obviously have gone on to get a draw with Georgia now. But yeah, I find this is a pretty hard one to call, to be honest. But I just have a feeling that Gatland's probably going to have the edge when it comes to this head-to-head. The experience of that Welsh team versus relative inexperience of the Aussie one. The pressure as well that is on that Australian team because they cannot afford really any more mistakes. So yeah, it's going to be fascinating. It's obviously not the highest quality pool in terms of the rankings of the teams involved, but it has made it a fascinating watch because there's a lot of very even games.
Yeah, I mean, Australia crashing out the World Cup after 2 games would be, some storyline for the Rugby World Cup. We'll watch that. First of all, the priority is Scotland, Tonga, 4:45 kickoff. Come and join us in our live blog and follow all the updates for the Herald. We'll have a post-match reaction, players' ratings, and obviously report as well. Alasdair, thank you very much. I apologise for getting you on when you are extremely tired from your flight back from France, but I hope you enjoy the game and the rest of your evening.
Cheers. Thanks very much.